I thought I was going to hate this guitar.
What?
But after playing it, I can confirm it's a pretty killer guitar. Welcome back to Squealing Pig Guitars, the home of luxury shred machines here in Nottingham, England. My name is Ben Keightley. I've been playing guitar for 10 years, 5 of those professionally, and today I'm showing you one of the first runs of the Les Paul Supreme. This guitar was made in 2003 alongside the birth of the Supreme label for Gibson. Basically, the Gibson Supreme is the highest end production for the Gibson USA line. It's basically a custom shop guitar without ever being in the custom shop. This guitar has some really cool oddball specs that we're going to get through today. But first of all, we got this secondhand. It's in a little bit of a bad condition, so we're going to clean it up, change the strings, and show you all the insides. So let's go to the workbench. Okay guys, so I've got the Supreme on the workbench now. As you can see, there's quite a lot of dust on this guitar. I'll get some close-ups so you can see. But we're going to basically change the strings, condition the fretboard, clean the guitar, as well as show you the electronics and obviously the state of this 2003 Les Paul. So I'm just going to take the strings off now so we can get this bad boy all nice and clean. So the Supreme is now stringless, taking all the strings off. I've not cleaned it yet, but I'm just going to undo these pickups so you can see what's in this 2003 Supreme. As I said, this is a first year Supreme, so it definitely has a lot of wear. If you look at this bridge, you can see how the gold plating has kind of removed itself over the years, obviously from playing wear. Got my Gibson tool here. Always make sure to use the right type of crosshead when you're taking off these pickups. Obviously, using the wrong one could result in this screw stripping. So as you can see here, I've just got the pickups out. We've got a set of 490R, 498T humbuckers in here. You can always tell that because of the Gibson USA logo alongside the little T that's inscripted on the bottom of the pickup cover. Always worth checking the pickups when you get a new guitar, especially second-hand, just in case obviously someone's changed them out, or it's a good indicator of whether it's a real Gibson or not. There's been a lot of these Supremes that have been faked, so it's always good to check the serial number alongside some of the other key areas. The other key area is obviously the bridge piece that they use. You'll find a lot of Chinese knockoffs don't use this type of system. There'll be a crosshead screw in here that keeps them on, just like the Epiphone one, which is more of a metric design. So this guitar is looking good, as you can see in the cavities here. Obviously this is 2003, classic Gibson kind of craftsmanship, a little bit shoddy in the top end here. But yeah, everything's looking nice, so let's get these pickups back in where they belong. Okay, so it's time to glove up. The cleaners I'm going to use today are a couple of different ones. We're going to use this Gibson polish. As you can see there, this is going to be good for just getting rid of the dust and some of the kind of initial dirt to the finish. Metal cleaner for the gold pieces on this guitar. We've got the Gibson high gloss polish, which will kind of hopefully get some of these scratches out as well as some of the dings. We're going to condition the fretboard with some lemon oil to make this ebony fretboard really pop. So, time-lapse time, let's go. So whilst I'm changing the strings, I thought I'd just tell you about some of the specs of this Les Paul Supreme. So this guitar still has that 24.75 inch scale length with the mahogany neck and the ebony fingerboard. We have the split trapezoid inlays, which are exclusive to the Supreme models, and we have no poker chip on the pickup selector. Unlike many other Supreme models, this guitar doesn't have any coil splitting. It's just a standard Les Paul electronics layout. This is because it's the first year of Supreme and they hadn't experimented with coil splits yet. This is looking a lot better now, a lot more glossy, which is what we like to see. I've also gone over with some of the metal polish on the gold parts just to give them a bit of a shine. Let's get the hardware back on this bad boy. Today's episode we're going to be restringing with Ernie Ball Super Ceiling keys. As you can see, the pickups are back in place, looking a lot better. Bridge and tailpiece are there. So let's restring this bad boy. Okay guys, so I've just finished setting up this beautiful Gibson Supreme. It's playing really nicely with this 9-gauge strings in standard tuning. Just going over some of the specs now. Obviously, the construction of this guitar is like no other Les Paul. Obviously, we have a flamed maple top with a flame maple back, which is also arched. So you have this kind of carved maple back and maple top. Obviously, if this didn't have the solid black finish on it, you'd see a flamed maple top. This also has a chambered mahogany body in the middle of it, just to keep the weight down, obviously, because there's so much maple on it, which is a heavy wood. You'll see that these Les Pauls just have a little bit of a thicker kind of body to a usual Les Paul. If I compare it to this more traditional 59 reissue, you can see the size comparison there and how big these Supremes are. It definitely contributes to the tone because of the amount of maple on this guitar. It does have a very high-end response, but it is very kind of thick and nasal sounding like most Les Pauls are. Obviously, we have a mahogany neck on this with that kind of more thin 60s profile, a bit like a Les Paul Custom. Ebony fingerboard with the split trapezoid inlays, which has a really nice kind of high-end look. And then we have the Supreme Wild logo at the top, which isn't really to my taste personally. I much prefer the split diamond inlay on the Les Paul Customs. And we have that gold truss rod cover just adding to that extra element of the guitar. We have the Grover Keystone tuners in gold, but that's enough talking about this guitar. Let's hear it in action. As you can see, there's no actual cavities to this guitar. There's no knob cavities or pickup switch cavity. It's all fed through this little gold plate here, so all the wiring goes through here. I assume that's because this is like a maple back, so they wouldn't want to ruin the figuring if this didn't have a black finish. But that's a cool point which I didn't see before. So the Supreme that we're playing in today's episode is from 2003, but since 2003 there's been many different Supreme models. The most popular are the Les Paul standard ones here, but they have been known to come in these kind of semi-hollow F-hole designs as well as SGs. Each year's variant kind of, revolves around the same idea of a very specced out Les Paul or SG kind of custom guitar. Obviously, throughout the years, they've used different inlays, different finishes, different electronic options. I know there's a lot of coil splitting options on the new Supreme. I definitely prefer the new Supreme headstock seen on the new 2023 Supreme. So now it's time for my final thoughts. So I'm going to start with playability, as this is arguably the most important factor when considering a guitar purchase. This guitar had a really nice setup. Obviously, I changed the strings today and did the action to my tastes, but it had a really nice slinky feel because of the 9-gauge strings, and I was obviously playing this in standard, so it wasn't too loose. The pickups in this guitar sound amazing. Normally I find 490R, 498T set to be a little bit too gain heavy, but I think because of the way that this guitar is constructed with the maple, it actually compensated very nicely, and I was able to get some really nice blues tones and clean sounds. It was a very snappy sounding guitar, which is definitely down to the maple. It played really, really nicely, and it was intonated to perfection. Secondly, let's talk about the look of this guitar. I love the Supreme look of the fretboard inlays, the lack of poker chip, and the more modern aesthetic that these Gibson guitars go for. But personally, I hate the logo on the headstock. I much prefer the more modern Supreme logo that came out on the 2023 line, and it's a lot more sleek and impressive looking, and definitely less traditional Gibson. But this guitar is awesome, really enjoyed playing it. Finally, let's talk about the cost of these instruments. So obviously, as I mentioned at the start, this is not a custom shop guitar, even though it would fool someone to think that it was because of the custom features and the high-end specs. But this is from the Gibson USA line. It's at the top of production of Gibson USA. These days, the new Supremes retail for around $3,500 to $3,900 depending on retailer and the country in which you're buying it from. However, on the second-hand market, they vary between $1,800 to $3,150, so you can definitely seek out a bargain if you're looking for an older Supreme model. I have to say, the new Supremes with the charcoal finish look amazing, and I'd love to get one in for a demo soon. Anyways guys, there's my video on the Gibson Les Paul Supreme. I really hope you've enjoyed today's video, especially with the new kind of segment of looking through the guitar, as well as a little bit of history on the Supreme model. Make sure to leave a like if you have to support the channel, as well as subscribe. At 2,000 subscribers, we're going to be giving away a Silver Sky PRS guitar. You need to be subscribed in order to be entered to that. And finally, make sure to hit the bell icon to be notified when we make a new post. But thank you so much for watching Squealing Pig Guitars. My name's been Ben Keightley, and I'll see you in the next Squealing Pig Guitars video. Keep rocking, guys. See you soon.